Welcome to this Emergency Threat Briefing Explainer. Today, we are covering the truly unprecedented July 2026 Microsoft Patch Tuesday. Now, if you work in a security operations center, you already know July is historically a really light month for patches. It's usually the time you can finally take a breather or a summer vacation. Well, you might want to cancel those plans. We're looking at the largest single-month security release in Microsoft's entire history, and it's going to require some immediate strategic action from all of us. Before we get into the weeds, just a quick heads up. This summary was created using NotebookLM, but I want to be super clear that every single data point, vulnerability rating, and mitigation strategy we cover today is derived directly from real-world threat intelligence and actual public sources. We are just cutting through all the noise to give you exactly what you need to know right now. Okay, let's dive straight into this staggering number, 622. Microsoft just dropped 622 CVEs in a single month. To really put that into perspective, this more than triples the previous all-time high we saw back in June. And get this, that number doesn't even include the roughly 480 additional bugs they patched in Chromium and Edge. This is a massive, record-breaking release. Since time is literally of the essence here, we're taking a strict triage approach today to help your SOC know exactly what to tackle first. We'll quickly run through the record-breaking volume, the actively exploited 0 days, the critical RCEs you need to prioritize, the massive role AI is playing in all this, and wrap up with your immediate mitigation strategy. All right, part 1, mapping the blast radius of this unprecedented patch volume. To really grasp the scope of the impact, you just have to look at where it hurts the most. As you can see, the Windows product family is taking the absolute brunt of this update, accounting for a whopping 416 of the vulnerabilities. Office comes in second with 82, followed by Developer Tools, SharePoint Server, and Azure. The blast radius here is incredibly wide, meaning pretty much every aspect of your on-prem and cloud infrastructure is likely taking a hit. But listen, while that total number is completely overwhelming, your immediate focus has to be on filtering the signal from the noise. Out of those 622 CVEs, 59 are rated critical and 510 are marked as important. Your SOC obviously can't patch 600 vulnerabilities overnight, so we're going to zero in entirely on those 59 criticals and the active threats hidden right inside them. Which brings us to Section 2. These are your hair on fire threats, the actively exploited 0 days. We need to shift our focus here immediately because attackers are actively exploiting these in the wild as we speak. There are 3 0 days in this release that you absolutely must track. The first 2, one in Active Directory Federation Services and another in SharePoint Server, are elevation of privilege flaws currently under active attack. The third is a publicly disclosed Windows BitLocker bypass. Basically, if you rely on BitLocker for endpoint encryption, be acutely aware that an attacker with physical access can bypass it entirely right now. Now, there is a huge, massive disconnect here between the vendor rating and reality that we need to talk about. Do not let Microsoft's moderate severity rating and CVSS score of 5.3 for that SharePoint 0 day fool you. You might see 5.3 and think, oh, we can deprioritize that. That would be a massive mistake. In reality, this vulnerability requires 0 authentication. It is completely reachable over the network, and as I said, it's being actively exploited right now. And it's a very similar story with the ADFS 0 day. This one goes straight after your core identity infrastructure. It does require local access and low privileges to start, sure, but once an attacker has that initial toehold in your network, this flaw gives them the ability to instantly escalate to full administrative privileges. Threat intel teams see this exact type of vulnerability chained with remote code execution all the time for rapid lateral movement, especially during ransomware deployments. Okay, part 3, let's look at the critical RCEs you need to prioritize, specifically the unauthenticated network threats. Moving past those 0 days, we hit a cluster of incredibly dangerous remote code execution vulnerabilities. This is exactly where you want to deploy your patching teams first. We're looking at critical flaws targeting DHCP, SharePoint, RDP, and Exchange. Let's quickly break down exactly why these are so dangerous. These DHCP server vulnerabilities are just nasty. We're talking heap-based buffer overflows that score a maximum 9.8 on the CVSS scale. What that means in practice is that a completely unauthenticated attacker can achieve code execution over your network. Now, obviously, DHCP's servers shouldn't be internet-facing, but if yours somehow are, or if you have a compromised internal network segment, these are incredibly potent tools for bad actors. You also absolutely cannot ignore the two SharePoint deserialization RCEs. These also score a brutal 9.8. They stem from the deserialization of untrusted data, and they require absolutely zero user interaction. What makes this so urgent is that a working exploit for one of these was actually already demonstrated live at Pwn2Own Berlin. The exploit maturity is real, guys. The code is out there. Finally, in this cluster, we have to highlight the Exchange server flaw. Microsoft originally classified this as a spoofing vulnerability, which frankly completely undersells the risk. Threat intelligence confirms this is actually a severe 9.6 CVSS stored cross-site scripting vulnerability in Outlook Web Access. And the terrifying part? It requires no user interaction beyond the victim simply viewing an email in their browser session. No clicks, no downloads, just viewing the email executes the malicious script. All right, Section 4. Let's talk about AI's role in this discovery and why this is the new normal. You're probably sitting there wondering why on earth we are suddenly seeing over 600 CVEs in a single historically quiet month like July. Well, the answer is a fundamental shift in how these bugs are actually found. Microsoft has been very explicit about this. They stated recently that this dramatic spike is partly the result of their expanded use of AI-assisted vulnerability discovery. They're deploying multi-model agentic AI scanning systems like MDash, which are just tearing through code and finding flaws at a speed and scale that human researchers literally cannot match. This represents a massive paradigm shift for us as cybersecurity professionals. Your security teams need to mentally and operationally prepare for the fact that these huge AI-driven vulnerability dumps are not some weird anomaly. They are highly likely the new normal. The speed of discovery has accelerated, and our speed of remediation simply has to match it. Which brings us to our final section, your triage and mitigation strategy. What are your immediate action items today? With over 600 CVEs staring you in the face, you need a hyper-focused plan. First things first, lock down your identity and collaboration platforms. That means patching the actively exploited ADFS and SharePoint 0 days immediately. Second, aggressively audit your internet-facing network services. You're looking specifically for any exposed DHCP or RDP servers for those 9.8 RCEs we talked about. And third, remind your staff about physical security controls to mitigate that BitLocker bypass, since physical access is the absolute prerequisite for that attack. Now, what if you are in a situation where you literally cannot patch your SharePoint servers today, maybe due to change freezes or intense testing requirements? Well, Microsoft has provided an official mitigation. You absolutely must enable the Anti-Malware Scan Interface, AMSI, on the server and explicitly set the request body scan mode to full. Do not skip this step if you are delaying that patch. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really chew on this critical question. How is your security team going to adapt its patching and deployment cycles to handle the sheer, unprecedented speed of AI-assisted vulnerability discovery? Because, look, if 600 plus CVEs is the new baseline moving forward, traditional 30-day patch cycles are going to leave you incredibly exposed. The game has fundamentally changed. And finally, for more deep dives into cloud, security, and AI insights just like this, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel @ealistrin. Stay safe out there, prioritize those 0 days, and best of luck with your patching this month.